Let's have a conversation.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Mindful Reality. And I'm happy to have Tasha back here again.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we are backed up on episodes. I was sick during episode 7 and I was busy during episode 8. It feels like we have been actively speaking about this, but that's because we have this Discord. So even though I wasn't going live, I was speaking to everyone who's in the Discord about it. And I realized I had to go back before we started this live and see where we're at and what happened in each episode, because it's all kind of merging together in my head.
Yeah, it's I had to go back also today. I got a few little clips to refresh my memory.
Yes. So I'm going to start right here at the beginning of episode 7. As Alan would say, previously on the Traitors. So where we were starting at the end of episode 6 was when Parvati and Phaedra were offering Peter the invitation to be a traitor. That was the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. So what did you think was going to happen? Did you think he was going to accept or turn it down at that point?
I thought that he was going to accept it. I thought that it would have been the smartest thing to do, and it would have increased his chance of winning. But since he declined it,
yeah. So I also thought that he was going to accept, but it was kind of anticlimactic. Hey, Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Ed says he is here. He needed this bad. Thanks for jumping on. So he was like, oh, yeah, we ride together, we die together, faithfuls for life. He didn't really say that, but that's
it. But he might as well have said it. I thought that I get why he didn't do it, but it doesn't really make sense for his game, because I think that he put a target on his back. So
it's a delicate balance. I kind of see the Traitors as a chess game. Mm-hmm. It's not always about taking the first available move. Oh, I can take out this piece, so let me do that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In his case, he was too arrogant about being a faithful. I'm like the traitor killer. So that puts the target on his back with the traitors automatically for the kill.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's been really smart with the game, but he's not good at laying low.
Agreed.
So then we get this breakfast table thing where everybody shows up and Parvati accuses Peter of being recruited, which I thought was kind of weird, interesting. I don't know what to call it.
I actually thought that was brilliant, because if you want to lay some doubt, you're going to do it at the breakfast table. People are going to remember what was said, what people did at the breakfast table. And by her mentioning Peter's name, I think if it didn't create doubt in this episode, I'm sure it's going to create doubt in the next episode.
Mm-hmm. No, based on knowing what happened in the next episode, mm-hmm. I have to agree with you there, because at the time when I watched it, I was like, she's doing too much. But at the same time, Peter has been actively targeting her for days now. Mm-hmm. All day. Parvati. I'm getting you out. I'm getting you out. I'm getting you out. Mm-hmm. So she was kind of backed in a corner and had to make an aggressive move. So I can agree with you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's true. Things that they say in the moment for us as viewers might just look like, oh, this is just a desperate attempt to get the attention off of them. But it does plant those seeds of doubt in people's heads.
I agree.
and it pays dividends sometimes later on, sometimes at the round table.
I agree. I think that when I first heard her say something, I'm like, I kind of was shocked that she said it, but then I thought about it. I'm like, she's laying her web. That's why they call her the Black Widow. So she knew exactly what she was doing.
So Peter ends up telling Bergie, Kevin, and Trishelle about his recruitment letter, and he says, "Don't worry, I absolutely did not accept the offer to be recruited," and they all seem to believe him.
Well, I wanted to say also is that I thought it was good of Peter not to mention it at the round table, because if he would have mentioned it, I think that I remember seasons prior that a person that mentioned that they were seduced and they didn't accept the seduction, people didn't believe them.
Remember who did that last season? It was it was funny. It was Christian. Christian was one of the traitors, and remember, he was already a traitor, and then he says, "Oh, I got offered to become a traitor, and I turned it down." And Cerie's looking at him like, "What is this guy doing?"
Exactly. You create doubts in others' minds. I can see him telling his core people, and that might have been a mistake also. But at the table, I thought that was good of him not to say anything to the table.
That's one thing that I would say Peter has actually been good at. He's not good at masking how hype he feels when he discovers something, but he is good at, when he has information, giving it out selectively. And he's been making sure that when people get shields, he's like, "Don't reveal that you have the shield." Last season, they were telling that they had the shield.
I know. I wish they wouldn't have.
You know something interesting that I've been watching all these other different recaps of the Traitors, and something that they mentioned about Dan, which is a little bit off topic but still relevant, is that Dan didn't realize that he was playing with other people who have been on competition shows. So this season we have an all celebrity cast, instead of a mix of celebrities and everyday people that don't do these things.
Right. Yeah. The only thing I could say to that is that nobody really knew. None of the men thought that Dan was a traitor. It was Larsa. So I think that they're given strategic, saying who's strategic when really they have not been strategic. The only one to me that's been really strategic is Peter. I think that they go with whatever is thrown out there and they see if it lands. I think that because if Larsa had not have threw his name out there at the table, I think that Dan will still be in the game.
Yeah, well, you make a good point there. There's a few wolves in there, and there's a bunch of sheep. So there's a few of them that are like, "Oh, this person is a traitor. This person's a traitor. This person's a traitor," and every single one of those people, when they speak, it's used against them.
Exactly.
Especially when they're wrong. Oh, this one said that this person is a traitor, and remember they were wrong, so let's get them out.
Exactly.
So I think it's pretty accurate that not many of them are too strategic. It's just a few of them.
And I even heard CT's name come up, and I'm like, CT has said many times he doesn't know what's going on.
And I believe him. I don't even think he's playing dumb.
No, I think that people think that he's laying low because, and that's a strategic move, but he's laying low because he really doesn't know who is the traitor or who he can trust.
I feel like CT has the same conversations every single episode. Well, I'm open to listening to what you have to say. It's just who makes the most compelling argument. He seems to say that to somebody once an episode.
Exactly.
Like, I started to realize over time, he's not really saying anything or putting pieces together.
No. Not at all.
Which I'm going to get to something about John a bit later.
Oh, okay.
Just hearing Dan was cast was enough to, well, yeah, that's true. Kind of surprised he made it as far as he did. You know what?
That's true.
Despite the fact that his gameplay wasn't that good, I do still have to give him some credit, because there's people that automatically would think this is the mastermind, the wizard from Big Brother, so he did pretty good to make it as far as he did.
He did right. As far as he did do pretty good to make it as far as he did. But I just thought, even though he didn't calculate correctly, I think that it was entertaining. So
it was entertaining, and he's a gambler when he plays these games. So his gambles paid off in Big Brother. But it was like he said, I saw his not his exit interview, but his recap that he was doing on his own. And he was basically saying, in a game like Big Brother, I have time. I have time to make mistakes and fix them. I have time to formulate strategies. He's like, the Traitors is a lot more fast moving. And he was like, you make a little mistake and then it just snowballs really quick and you don't have a chance to get ahead of it.
Right. And another thing, Kevin Martin, he when he was the faithful, I wouldn't say overplayed, but he was a little aggressive and he was a faithful. So it's hard to say how to play these games when you actually are doing it, if you're a faithful or a traitor. So.
Yeah, it's true. You could be aggressive and everyone likes that. Oh, we need to keep this person in because they're really good at getting these traitors out. Or they can say, oh, no. This person is just doing this as a tactic.
Right.
To throw everybody up. So it changes and shifts so quickly. I find the Traitors to be such a game of paranoia.
That's a good analogy. It is.
It's like, oh, I was talking to so and so and I said something to them and they scratched their nose. And I'm a poker player. I mean, I'm just kind of making that up, but it reminded me of Trishelle talking about Phaedra Twitch.
Oh, yeah. Phaedra, the Twitch.
So in this episode was when Trishelle first told everyone that she suspects Phaedra. And at that point in time, they were like, Phaedra, I don't really know, but we know for sure that Parvati is a traitor. So I don't know about that. They weren't really so sure. They kind of brushed it off in that episode. So then we get to this thing where they went into the woods and they had to answer those series of questions and choose whether they're going left or right. And if they choose the wrong thing, they fall into the booby traps.
I love this challenge.
You loved that I would hate to be in it, but I loved watching it.
Right. I loved watching it. I wouldn't want to get my clothes soiled or get caught in that not a harness. What is that? Net. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. So once again, let me see. The people that made it through. John is somehow so good at all of these challenges. So him and Parvati make it through, and Kevin and Sandra make it through. So they made this big dramatic thing. And this is really dramatic because Parvati has such a big target on her back at this point.
I know.
We're all sitting here as fans, like, if Parvati wins the shield, it totally changes the course of what happens in the next couple of episodes. And if Kevin and Sandra win the shield, it doesn't really make a difference because nobody's targeting them at this point. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that I don't think that it would have changed if Parvati would have won. I don't think it would have changed anything because they had that little twist.
Yeah, well, with the twist, but I
see what you're saying.
At the time, like before we knew that.
Right.
Yes. So basically, Kevin and Sandra win the shield. And then it cuts ahead. There's a part where Peter's talking to CT. And Peter's like, "Hey, CT, do you trust me?" And CT's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I think I trust you." So CT is on the in with the ladies.
Right.
The ladies that had gotten together. I think Parvati was a part of it. Sandra was kind of the head honcho in those conversations. Remember, she did that whole thing on the pool table. Was it the pool table?
It was the pool table with the pool balls.
Pool balls. Yeah, where she was just like, "This is us and this is them," and she did all this stuff. Kate was there.
Yeah, I thought it was great because they were able to understand by looking, showing a visual. And she said that that's what she's known for in Survivor.
She's so, even though her reads have not been good, she's good. Everyone has their strengths. So she's very analytical, it looks like, to where she's like, even if there's a traitor amongst us, they have the voting power right now. So we just want to get out one of that group's number, the group that Peter was leading, so that if we decide, okay, this person's a traitor, we actually have the majority votes to do that.
Exactly.
So in that conversation with CT and Peter, CT alerts Peter, like, "Hey, Peter, they're looking at you now. You're on the chopping block." And Peter, oh, did I skip ahead? I might have.
No, I don't think so.
This was still episode 7, right? Okay. Yeah, so he alerts Peter like, "Hey, you're on the chopping block." So Peter is like, "Oh, I was not aware of this," because he's doing like what they did on Big Brother this season. You know how that big group with Riley leading that group kind of formed together, and then like, "Oh, we got this. We're gonna just take out everybody else." And then there's this whole other side of the house that's like, "Hey, these people are meeting all the time." So they called themselves the Leftovers and kind of got together and formed this anti-group to that group. And Peter wasn't even aware of this because he was all focused on his secret huddles.
Which was a mistake. I don't understand why CT did that. I don't think that he truly trusts Peter, and he's being left out of the group, Peter's group. So I didn't understand why he would bring that up to Peter.
I actually agree with you there. I think that the person he trusts the most, obviously it's clear, is John. I mean, Trishelle's his friend, but game-wise, he chose to save John. And every time they get to the table, he's like, "John, what do you think?" And then he kind of moves with whatever John is saying because he really trusts him. So I thought that it might have been a better strategy for him to hold that one to the vest.
I agree.
Yeah, but he chose to tell him, so it gave Peter a chance to try to do something about it. So Peter, interestingly enough, takes Parvati and Phaedra into a room together, the three of them, and says, "I want to work with the both of y'all." Phaedra's like, "I'm out. I'm not trying to be a part of this secret meeting."
I don't blame her.
Yeah.
And luckily she did what she did.
Because she was able to use that later. That was a great chess move for her. She's thinking 2 steps ahead. So, and Parvati and Peter end up talking, and he's like, "Hey, we should work together." She's like, "Yeah. But this wasn't when they made the deal quite yet. This was just him saying, "You and I should work together. They'll never see it coming, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
So then we get to the twist that you were talking about. Hi, Dee, and hi, Edward.
Hi, Dee. Hi, Edward.
And hi, Colleen.
Colleen.
So we get to this twist where Alan says, "There is no round table," which I've learned from a lot of you following me that a lot of people didn't like that, but I don't mind the twist. It was getting kind of predictable for me.
I didn't mind it either.
Yeah. So
I was okay.
So they go out into the woods, and Alan is out there in the woods, and instead of the table, the round table, they get to do this picking style thing where they get to pick who they want to save from the possible kill from the traitors. 7 of them get to be saved, and 5 of them will be up for banishment. So we go through this whole thing. It's big and dramatic. I'm not going through every single one of the saves, but CT saved John over Trishelle, Trishelle has no shame in her game.
No, she doesn't.
Apparently. She started begging from the beginning. Please save me. I really want to be in this game. She begged everybody.
Well, I don't understand why people were upset about not being selected, because it's a game. You had to pick someone. But it does show who trusts who.
Yes. Something like this is something that reveals where your loyalties lie, or at the very least, what you're publicly willing to show people.
With the exception of Kevin and Sandra, because
they already had.
They had to select one person, so he couldn't select someone on her side, and she couldn't select someone on. Well, Sheree is kind of on her side, but we all know, everybody knows Sheree is a faithful.
Yeah,
she's not
trying. Like, let's pick the least threatening person.
I agree, and that's the reason why they picked her. But everyone else shows who they trust in the game. So.
And what did you think of Sheree picking Phaedra first?
I think that it's because of the long history that they've had.
True.
I think that someone said that they think that Sheree may know that because she knows her. She's known her for 20 years. So I'm sure she, even though Phaedra acts the same, but I'm sure she can tell that she possibly is a traitor, but I think she thinks that she won't kill her. And I agree with her.
Edward said Sheree is too clueless to be a traitor. I be forgetting that Sheree is even in these episodes. To be quite honest, I don't know anyone who's spoken less than her, or I don't know if she's spoken or not showing it, but I don't remember anything memorable that she has said so far in all these episodes.
She's not giving anything.
So they're probably like, she's just here just to be here. There's no way.
We'll pick her.
So the thing that they did at the end that made it really dramatic was John. It was this whole thing with John. Who's John gonna pick? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was episode 7 where Parvati had that conversation with John with the crying. Was that episode 7?
Episode 8.
Oh, that was episode 8. Okay. So he was picking on who he wants to save, and he did what he always does. He makes his big dramatic speeches. Oh, I gotta pick the person who I know is true. They're strong in their convictions, whatever he said in his accent and his loud voice. And he picks Peter. And Parvati looked like someone just ran over her dog with a car or something. She was just upset, squirming, and just
I don't understand why John picked. Well, I guess I can understand it. He's the leader of their Peter pals. So John picked the pal. Yes, he picked the pal.
Save so she can have some money to pay them bills.
So John picked the pal. And you think if Trishelle, who do you think Trishelle would have picked if she was selected instead of John?
It's tough because she claims that she would have picked CT. Or you mean if CT was off the board?
Right.
If he was off the board.
So if CT would have picked Trishelle instead of John, who do you think that she would have select.
Who was left to save at that point?
MJ, Bergie,
Yeah.
Peter, and it was one more person.
I think that it's between Peter or Bergie. I think she would have saved one of them for sure.
Right.
I would guess that it would probably be Peter.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's been working with him this whole time.
Probably. Oh, it would have been John. Oh, the last person would have been John. So it would have been MJ, John, Bergie, or Peter.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I still think it would have been Peter.
Yeah.
Or Bergie. I don't know for sure because she's close with both of them, but so we end the episode. There Parv and Phaedra are in the room at the end of the night, and they're like, "Oh man, we can't get Peter. Like Peter would have been an ideal person to take out. They let him sit too long. I said this earlier. I'm like, they should have got out Peter way earlier than they did.
I agree.
Like once he slipped through Dan's fingers by Dan being so arrogant, that should have been the next target on their list. But they let him sit in there. The thing about the Traitors is it's like this we can get them later mentality is not good. Because if you have somebody who's loud and aggressive and onto you.
I agree that Peter, of course, does have to go. But the thing about it is, Parvati, he's already targeting Parvati openly. And so if they murder Peter, she would be the target. I would think that they would banish her. They would think that she was. So I think that had it gone, I think she would have been been banished regardless.
You could be right on that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about who they should choose for the banishment because we had recapped episode 6, and you and I had both said we think they should get Bergie because that's the best out of the available options that they had, and he was indeed who they ended up murdering. So they were like, what was that?
I thought Trishelle.
Oh, you thought they should murder Trishelle?
They should murder Trishelle because she was.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, she was on to Phaedra.
But I said Bergie and you said Trishelle.
Right. But at the time, Phaedra didn't know.
Yeah.
She was on to her.
So they end up choosing Bergie. Bergie's out. That's how they begin episode 8. Now we're into episode 8. So this is when Trishelle finally decides, okay, I am going to let my group know that I really want Phaedra out. Mm-hmm. So this was interesting to me for a few reasons. She's been talking about Phaedra for like 3 episodes.
Right.
She gently hinted at it a few times, but this time she's just like, I can't take this anymore. Phaedra is dangerous in this game, and I really think she's a traitor. She said, I have a list. She pulled a Dan in a sense. Mm-hmm. She said, I'm letting you guys know, except she gave a name, but she was like, I'm letting you guys know, and I'm going to bring my arguments to the round table and, try to make a compelling argument. So she was basically trying to convince Peter because he's he's the ringleader. And he's saying, we know that it's Parv. We know that Parv is definitely a traitor. And she's saying, I understand that that's what you guys think, but Phaedra is a more dangerous traitor if she's a traitor because everybody likes her. She nobody's writing her name down, and she has all these numbers and these friends and everything. So she said, I think 3 steps ahead is what she said. Mm-hmm. So the reason I find this part interesting was because she seemed to have convinced her group, Kevin, whoever else, John, whichever people were in that group, mm-hmm. but they made it like it was Peter's idea. He took the blame for it.
He took the blame for it, but not only that, I think that even though it was said at Trishelle said it. I don't think that, I believe that Trishelle had pulled Peter to the side because Kevin acted like he didn't know what was going on. He was like, why would he change up? They thought he changed up. They won't murder Peter. Why not? Since Dan's management.
Oh, I totally agree with that, Ed. Sometimes these people overthink their steps. They're like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this. Like, so you got to, it's a balance.
Right. Right. So I thought that Trishelle, I get her with her logic, and it was good for her, but it wasn't good for Peter because he was gun ho trying to get out Parvati, and when you switch up like that, that makes you look suspicious.
And I gotta say, Kate's addition into this game has shifted the balance of power also, because it seems like people tend to feel about Kate that not even that she's the best faithful or the best traitor, but they're just like, whatever she says, she's not somebody who holds back any punches.
No.
They're like, we don't see her as a liar. We just see her as somebody who's very straightforward. And whatever she says, they seem to go with that so far. Compared to last season when they didn't like her.
I know, but she was so entertaining.
Thanks for the super chat, Ed. Do you think Peter yeah, I do think that
the Peter's lines are starting to crack? Yes, absolutely.
Kate becoming a traitor is 100% because what's it called? Not an ultimatum. Is it?
Yeah, it's an ultimatum.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was not one of those you can or you can't. It's like you have to, otherwise you're out of the game. So she's gonna accept. Exactly. The Peter alliance thing, I will get to that because that's just part of the recap. So yeah, Peter tells. Okay, so after this whole conversation with Trishelle, Peter goes to Parvati again, and they have this really, really fake conversation where he's like, you know what? I think that I was wrong in thinking that it was you targeting you, and he was just like, I think we can work together, and the person that I have suspicion about is Phaedra. I'm a suspicious person just naturally. So if I'm Parvati here, I would be like, this is probably another one of Peter's tricks.
Well, I think she thought so, but she was going to go with it to save her own butt.
I think there's a good chance. Well, she has to become a traitor, so she's going to join. Who do you think is the smartest traitor?
The smartest traitor or faithful?
Faithful, sorry.
The smartest faithful? Maybe, I guess maybe Trishelle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's between Peter and Trishelle.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Peter.
They've both been.
I take Peter.
Yeah, because he's had more of his strategy in there.
Right.
Yeah, so they had the conversation, and I guess you're right. It was more self-preservation. Like if your biggest enemy in the house is like, let's make a deal, you're not going to say no.
Exactly. And she even said on when they were asked, when she was, the little when they're talking
diary room.
Right. The diary room.
Whatever they call it on this show.
Exactly. That she hated to do that to Phaedra. She wished that both of them could be saved, but she has to save her own self, which I understood.
John is actually a pretty good answer, D, because John, it's like when I'm thinking about this conversation that Parvati had with him where she's crying and she's like, I'm just misunderstood. I made a mistake. I've made mistakes in the house. And he's like, oh, I appreciate your honesty. And I can say that you wear your heart on your sleeve, whatever he was saying to her. It sounded so much like he was convinced. But then when they get to the round table.
But I love this from Parvati because I'm like, if she gets away with this, she is the queen.
It was a good try. And
Yeah.
you know what? Like I said, there's power players in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Kate is one of them, not because of strategy or anything, but just because people tend to listen to her voice.
Right.
And she speaks with such conviction.
Right.
John is another one.
Mm-hmm.
And John has been there from day one. So
Mm-hmm.
you're right. She was like, I'm going to go to this guy who everybody trusts and likes.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can convince him and he says, oh, I don't think she's a traitor, she probably thinks maybe he can convince a few other people. And it's a good try. Her back was against the wall.
I agree.
Her back was really against the wall, and it's been there hardcore since Dan left.
I agree.
I have to give her credit also.
Oh yeah,
because when everybody was on to Cody, we saw how Cody was terrible in that type of scenario.
He crumbled.
Yes,
that's why I give Dan praise, because of, even though his back was against the wall and he was going down with the ship, he did not crumble. He was stuck to it to the it was time for him to be banished.
Even when Phaedra was embarrassing him at the table, he didn't look like he was breaking out a sweat. He just looked like he was wrong. Is that what he called her, Ed? Because I remember he said something that made me laugh.
He called her the Duchess of Deception.
Deception. Okay, I was laughing at that.
I loved it. It was pure TV gold. The Duchess of Deception and the Mistress of Murder.
He's so dramatic.
I know.
He should be an actor.
He should. He also called Dan a few episodes earlier the Silent Slaughterer.
He said that at the round table, right?
Yes.
He saves all this stuff for the round table. He's like the game breaker at the round table.
I agree.
So this week's episode's mission, oh goodness, with the rats and the cockroaches and stuff. Oh,
that's not my type of challenge.
Not mine either. Mm-mm. So Phaedra, Sheree, MJ, and Kate tap out. Everybody else makes it through, so they get $15,000 in their bank. Mm-hmm. And then I had in here, I skipped ahead a little bit, but I had in here about when Parvati spoke to John. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I thought that he was actually possibly convinced that they had it all wrong about her. I mean, agree. I think his politician background serves him well.
It does in this game.
Because the reason I say that is because he has a way with words where he can emphasize something that will make you feel comfortable, mm-hmm. but he's not really with you. He did it to John and Parvati.
And not only but not only that, he doesn't, even though he comes out strong at the rounds table, when they're having conversation, he listens.
Yes.
He doesn't just spew out things or throw out names. He listens to everybody. And then when he gets to the round table and everybody has had their say, then that's when he'll say, well,
that he's the last word. It's funny because everybody goes around. Somebody will start, I'm making my accusation. Then the other person will say, here's my defense. Then it'll be like, oh, what do you think, Kevin? Then Kevin is the next one who's going to speak. We can kind of see the patterns at this point. These 3-4 people are definitely going to say something first. CT is going to sit down and just listen and look at everybody and then be like, John, what do you think? And then John gives the final word. Oh, what did you say that he said? He said
the Duchess of Deception and the Mistress of Murder.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, when he said that, to be honest with you, before he spoke, I was like, this seems kind of 50-50.
Right.
But then after he said that, I was like, Parvati is out of here.
I agree with that.
Because
yes.
Like he's good for like 3 to 4 votes by himself.
I agree. When he first started talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it for Phaedra. Because no one else is saying it. I don't think anybody knows what to think. I think that they were surprised that they brought Phaedra to the table. And when everybody felt like Phaedra was, Parvati was the one that they were going to banish. Oh no, they were thinking of, I'm thinking about last episode, but they when Parvati's name had been floating around and then they bring out Phaedra, it looks suspicious. That's
So
why
let's talk about this whole thing, because I skipped that part.
Mm-hmm.
We get to this round table discussion. Before the discussion, before they get to the round table, Trishelle is letting everybody know at this point, I think it's Phaedra, and they're like, oh, give us a reason why. Give us the reasons why. And she's like, I don't want to give Phaedra a chance to get ahead of this because she's amazing at debates. Like, look what she did to Dan. So she said, when I get in there, I have a list of points and I'm going to list out my points and hopefully we can get her out now. So we get to the round table. She steps up and speaks up. So I think there's so much intrigue in seeing like, okay, how's Phaedra going to respond to this second blindside attempt?
Yeah. I don't think it was the right call. I think that if you're going to accuse someone of something, you have to lay the seeds with everybody. You can't just lay the seeds with your group.
That's yes. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, and that was her mistake. Don't lay the seed. You have to. I know you don't want her to hear what's going on, but give your, because people were listening, give what your reason, as long as you give your reasonings and people think that they're good reasons to target her, they will not say anything. They'll wait to the round table. But because you left people out, and that's the problem with Peter's group, they leave people out, and maybe that's the reason why CT didn't pick her. Maybe that's why he went with John. I don't know.
CT is gonna follow the path of least resistance. So even if he happened to think he's gonna sit there and wait until everybody speaks, and he's gonna go with the main person. I already knew he was gonna pick Parvati. The only way that he would say no, I'm not picking Parvati, is if John said, no, I'm not picking Parvati.
I agree. Okay.
He's gonna sit there, and it's like, unless everybody at the table is like, you know what? I think it is you, Phaedra. Like, if everyone did that, CT would do that right with them. So I feel like there's people who are going to sway the table, and there's a bunch of people who are just gonna sit there and just go with the majority.
I agree.
But I totally agree with what you were saying. That's what I was gonna say. I totally agree with what you're saying about you can't just bring the thing within your own group. And this is the reason why. Even if your group is working with you, you can't depend on a whole group down to the number to be able to all do the thing that you expect them to do in that moment.
Exactly.
It's like Big Brother. You know, like Big Brother, you know how they were counting, we have this person, this one, and this person, and we got this. You don't know if you had this person. Not just because they sat in the room and told you in the room that they're going to do this. Are they actually going to do that when the time comes?
I agree.
And they're kind of split almost down the middle. So that means you would need 100% of your group to do what you said. And that's way too big of a risk. So I think she showed her hand a little too early.
I agree.
Maybe one more week.
One more week.
Let them take out Parvati first.
Mm-hmm.
And then be like, I think the last one, the last original one was Phaedra.
Phaedra. Right, exactly. But she would plant the seeds now and
Yeah.
then exactly. Don't wait till the round table because everybody was like, what?
And I was waiting to see. I was like, just thinking logically, even before she started making her argument, I was like, I don't think this is gonna work here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Phaedra, Phaedra's like, what did she say? I don't panic like you or something like that. When she
Oh
was telling
yeah.
her, when she was telling her, you never look like you're worried, and you never look surprised with the results at breakfast. To me, she was kind of saying similar things to what Dan said.
I agree. She was.
Yeah,
I
like
think
I thought she was gonna bring a little bit more when she said she had her list, but it
but
wasn't as strong as I thought it would be.
well, I think the biggest thing was when she said that uh
Dan,
when
Dan
Dan
mentioned her
oh,
name.
yeah, when Dan brought her name up and she said that I think that he was trying to throw you under the bus to save himself. I think that's a big reason and would
You know
give me
what?
thought.
But you know what? I think that yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Mhm,
So her list is cool. Her list is fine. Her list is perfect actually. All the things she needed to have on the list, but she didn't emphasize it well enough.
I agree. Hmm.
She was starting off with all that Dan stuff. Oh, you don't you have the twitch in your eye. Like I observed the twitch in your eye. And Kevin came off kind of rude actually when he was like, yeah, I noticed it too. Is that something, did you have that twitch? Is that something you were just born with?
But remember when they were showing it, and I'm like, I never even noticed.
I didn't even notice that. So she led with the more unimportant things, and then when Phaedra started firing back at her, then she's like, okay, I'm just gonna skip. There's a lot of other things, but I'm just gonna skip that and get to the Dan part. And I'm like, no, you should have put the Dan part at the beginning. And then you could have put in all those little things afterwards, but
Hmm.
make that part really compelling. Because
Exactly.
that ended up being kind of a footnote.
Yeah. Wasn't her and some people are calling her a genius, but I'm like,
And I don't even necessarily think it was like, I don't want to give Phaedra a chance to get ahead of it. I think that she was scared of Phaedra. Phaedra's intimidating.
I don't think that she was scared of her. I think that she just didn't know how well she did know how well Phaedra can come back. She didn't really
Yes.
come back at her all that well, other than to say, I'm not what I'm sorry, what did she say when she said that she wasn't get nervous or something? I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, something to
nervous.
that effect.
But the fact that Phaedra knows how to think on her feet, because I
Yeah.
would never thought about that whole thing in the armory.
Yes. Oh
So
yeah. I'm
that
glad I
Phaedra,
forgot about that. That was
yes,
smart. Because at
yes,
first she wasn't really coming back with anything.
right.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere on the spot, she was like, Peter approached me and Parvati and called us to this room and asked if we could all work together. And I walked out. And I was like, that was so genius.
That was genius. And because I'm like, oh yeah, they did do that.
That was diabolical.
Yes, it was genius. And so you have to give your hand to Phaedra. She is playing this game.
Yes, she was backed into a corner there because it wasn't as easy as Dan. And also, when Dan spoke, there's Kate jumping in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and being this really loud cheerleader for her. So
Mm-hmm.
this time she was on her own island, and everyone is just looking at her like, I wonder how she is gonna respond to that. And then she found that little thing, that little chink in the armor for Peter. And
So, what do you think about the way Sari played the game?
so
And
watching how watching how this season is playing out, I
mhm,
think I'm even more impressed with Cerie's gameplay.
I'm impressed with Cerie's gameplay, but she was never called out, really.
That's true. I mean, she wasn't really called out.
Really didn't have a like Cody. He was called out at the table and he just crumbled. I don't think Cerie would have crumbled. Yes, Tasha, she's quick on the draw. Yes, she is. And so the fact that Phaedra's able to bring up things that was kind of rude, I thought. That Phaedra was able to bring up things each time her name is put out on the table, and to get people to think like, what? Look at Peter instead of looking at her. I thought it was brilliant. So
what I would say to that, I know exactly where you're going with that. But what I would say is, when you come into these games, you're playing the players just as much as you're playing the game.
Right.
And I felt like, I mean, I'd have to watch it back again, but I felt like season 1 had far less aggressive players than this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
This season, it had people that were starting things from the jump. Mm-hmm. It was like, John said that he has asthma, and then he was running, so he's a traitor. And then it was just like, I forgot the name of the lady from the first episode or the second episode that Trishelle accused.
Peppermint.
Peppermint, yeah. It's like, whatever slip up that she said with her words, and it's like, oh, she's the traitor. Like, people are not afraid in this season to call you out for being a traitor. So I'm even amazed that Phaedra made it all the way to episode 8 out of 10 before her name even got written down.
I know.
Aside from Dan writing it down, obviously, but he was a lone soldier with that. Nobody else wrote her name down. That was terrible. Yeah, so we get to this round table, and ultimately Parvati also tries to jump in on this Phaedra thing. And like I said, CT was like, John, what do you think? And that's the last thing that I remember in my mind, where he said that stuff that Tasha said. It was just so funny to me. He makes these funny round table speeches. So he doesn't believe her.
Yes.
And I felt like that was her last hope to stay in the game. So she gets voted out. She lets everyone know she's she was a traitor, I mean. And then in the aftermath, this is the interesting thing that I don't understand about Trishelle. You had your list and you had your reasons, and she's like, oh, I got to throw out my list. Why? It's not like Phaedra stood on that thing and said, I was a faithful.
Well, because I don't think she thought that
Parvati
was a traitor.
She did say in the episode that she thought that Phaedra had more reasons than Parvati.
Exactly. And I'm like, but Parvati was very suspicious. I can't believe that she didn't think that she was a traitor. But apparently she didn't think that she was a traitor. She thought that Phaedra was, which she was correct. But I guess she's like, she just couldn't believe it. That's why I think that she meant that.
That's hilarious, Ed. I don't understand how John is like the least person that you would expect to be just running through the woods and doing all this stuff.
John may win this game. Okay.
You know, this game for me looks like it's set up. I mean, not set up, but the way that it's been, the traitors' names have been on their mouths so early, it makes me feel like this might be one of the first seasons that the Faithfuls actually take it home.
Maybe. That would be nice. But
it's going to be dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
Because Phaedra is still in a position where she has her friends there, and then she has her group, and then she has a couple of people on the other side. CT's kind of playing the fence, but she has a couple of other numbers to pad the stats a little bit.
Sandra is she's playing the fence also, but she has said, and they've asked her who's your favorite person in the house, and she said it was Phaedra. So I'm sure that she probably wouldn't think that she would be a traitor.
Oh, you meant to say Dan and Parvati. Yes, both Dan and Parvati. Yeah, if people were paying attention, they would be like, the two traitors who got taken out both put down Phaedra. Why? That's what I'd be thinking.
Exactly. That's the truth.
I didn't think of that, Ed, but that's really
That is
true.
the truth. That's strategic thinking.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
But
is.
nobody on that game plays strategically.
I think that I am, what's it called, an armchair quarterback, because I know that I look at them and I'm like, why are you making this stupid move? But then again, in the house, you go in there, you don't really know who you can trust. Even the people you're working with the most closely, you're probably like, I'm pretty sure that you're faithful, but you might not be.
Right. It's true. It's true. You don't know who you can trust. Well, I think most people know that, but you still don't know. Even though you know, you really don't know until they stand and say that whether they're a faithful or a traitor. God, Faith and Trishelle. She'll put it together and see that two traitors try to throw Phaedra under the bus. Maybe.
I hope so, because it would make for an interesting episode.
No, because she's so entertaining.
Oh, Phaedra?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right though. She's definitely had a more difficult game to play than Cerise. She's had a harder road.
Right. But
And actually, her team, she didn't actually have to do like Cerise. You know how Cerise was like, oh, now Cody has served his purpose. Now I got to get rid of Ari, I think his name was. It's more like they self-imploded.
Yeah.
And they came at her, which actually, it's a good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you get people who are really paying attention and they're like, oh, both of them went at Phaedra. But then it's a good thing because it's like the move is not on Phaedra. It's like they attacked her. So that's why she put their names down.
Exactly.
So they're not like, oh, she was trying to fight. She was trying to get the other traitor before the other traitor got them type of thing.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who do you think that Phaedra should have selected?
Oh yeah, so Phaedra selects Kate. The Kate choice was definitely the most dramatic of choices. Was it the best choice?
I'm not mad at the choice, but I'm wondering if I think that I don't know.
I kind of like the Kate choice because at first when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh no, I don't know if I trust Kate next to me. But the reasons that she was saying kind of made sense. Kate has actually been on her right hand since she got in that house.
She sure has.
Kate has been fighting for her, defending her.
Oh, now Kate, if she likes you, she is very loyal.
Yes, and Kate has no real loyalties like that coming into the game late. And the other people are so strongly teamed up at this stage that I would probably be scared to work with any of them.
I think you're right. I think this might have been a better choice because she, even though I think that Kate is loyal. I like Prince's idea of trying for Trishelle. Oh, as a traitor?
Oh, I don't know. I don't, because Prince said he got his faith in Trishelle. She'll put it together.
Oh, put it together for getting out Phaedra.
Yeah.
She could, but I don't think that Kate will ever double cross her. And I think that I want to see how does she, when she's at the round table, how does she react? Or at breakfast, how does she react? Is she going to be her saying, snarky self?
Yeah, because we've never seen Kate as a traitor.
Right.
So
if she can hold it together, I think that she probably will go to the end.
And do you think that Phaedra would split with her if she got to the end?
Yes.
I kind of think so too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that she kind of senses that Kate's presence in that house has taken some heat off of her for two episodes now. When a lot of people were on her.
Exactly.
And this is the most times her name has been written down yet in this last episode.
And she's still calm, cool, and collected.
Which is sometimes I look at these people, I'm like, it's impressive and scary at the same time. Like, if you could do this on a TV show,
I know.
Imagine you as a lawyer in real life.
Oh, she said, Peter's like, she's a lawyer. Of course, I should have known. Oh no, that was Dan. Dan's like, she's a lawyer.
Yes, but what I was gonna say too, the one part that I didn't mention, which is basically my last part. Peter took a hit this week.
Oh my goodness.
Because when he got to that round table and he threw those accusations at Phaedra, and in combination, Phaedra spoke about that conversation that he sparked up with the two of them. Everybody was like, yeah, you were so gung-ho on Parvati this whole time for like, I keep saying weeks because we see it once a week, but it feels like weeks, but 2-3 days, 4 days, however long it's been, that he's been so hardcore that he has to get her out. And he didn't make a good argument at that round table.
He was like, and I'm like, Peter, speak up. What are you doing?
You've been so good with the words and this whole time, and all of a sudden you get this unnecessary target on your back for going with this Trishelle plan, and you have nothing to say, and now everyone's looking at you crazy for it.
Even your right hand man, well, now it's your right hand man, Kevin.
I don't even think Trishelle is in a much worse position than she was in.
No, I don't.
Because they're like, she just gets paranoid and accuses people. That's what she does.
Exactly, especially with the whole thing with Peppermint. Yes, they remember that.
Yes. So with Peter, they were like, this is an about face from everything that he's been saying. And then Kate saying that. I don't understand. All this time you were on Parvati, and all of a sudden now we get here and you're talking about Phaedra. And he tried to talk to Kate, wasn't it? Afterwards or before?
Oh, he tried. Yes, he tried to talk to Kate afterwards. And Kate wasn't buying it.
Yeah.
She was like,
and she left the room.
Yeah, she's like, Phaedra could well be a traitor, but what you did was shady.
You're a bad faithful if you're a faithful.
Exactly.
You're saying.
Exactly.
So Peter, I don't know. Peter has just not put himself in a good position because now Kevin is questioning him.
Yeah,
Kevin reminds me of that black guy from the last season. I forget what his name is.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. The one that was mad at Sari.
Yeah. He reminds me of that. He reminds me of that guy. So Kevin is another one who's like one of those people who speaks out.
And he not only did he speak out, he told the other side, which is MJ. So I know MJ is going to say something to everybody else about Peter. It's going to spread.
And Kevin feels like disappointed, like he was misled. Like this whole time I was thinking that it was her, and then all of a sudden you tell us to switch the play, and now I'm questioning you.
Right.
Were you trying to throw us off the trail? Maybe you're a traitor.
Exactly.
So that works in favor of Phaedra.
That's the wrong move, Peter.
Because you had the faithfuls trust in you. Yes, you had the target of the traitors for sure. Obviously, you made that clear. But the faithfuls turning on you, that was not something that had to happen like that.
No, it didn't. And even even at the round table, when Peter brought up Phaedra, John was kind of shocked that he brought. It seemed like he was shocked that he brought up Phaedra when, like you said, when everybody was talking about Parvati. Like, what are we doing?
I thought of that too, Rocky. Like, he has, this time is a choice, either or, rather than you can choose not to do it and stay. So I did think of that. But
that's true.
I don't know. I guess he would have to work with her because it's not, well, I guess at that point he would have to lie. It would put him in a tough spot. I definitely see that.
I don't think he would have been good.
You don't think it would have been good?
I don't think he would have been good because he would have been forced to do it. Like the first time, if he would have said yes when Parvati asked, I think he would have been good at being a traitor. But because he turned it down and then he's being forced to become a traitor, I think that it will weigh on him. The guilt.
But would Phaedra be able to work with that?
I think Phaedra could work
for her benefit. I mean,
oh yeah, I think she could have used it and got him out because now everybody thinks that he is a traitor.
Yeah, so I guess that was probably two things on her mind. She probably thought of Peter, and she probably thought, what is more important, a person I could use as a pawn to get out, or an ally? And I think that she feels like I need an ally more.
Right. I agree.
On. So I think that's what played into her choice. Peter looked so bad. He did. He took an L at the round table.
Did.
He's definitely gone next episode. Do you think so? CT, John, and Trishelle are the most faithful out of all the faithfuls.
Well, I think he's gonna go after Phaedra again because I do remember a preview where she tells Peter, this is not The Bachelor. I'm not going to kill you. Yeah. So I think that he's probably going to go after her at this round table, but it might be her throwing that seed out there might have damaged Peter's game. So
Ed said he'd be picking pawns. That guy who won Traitors Canada did that. Magic Mike.
Magic Mike.
He picked that guy who was smiling all the time. I don't remember his name either.
That made me mad. I'm like, what? This guy's such
a smart guy. Though. And that guy was terrible at being a traitor. Terrible.
Well, we don't know because he got him out the next what was episode? He was out. So
I agree, Colleen. I didn't know that Peter was like this. I mean, I didn't know anything about Peter aside from the show he was coming from. But he's crafty.
People didn't like him when he was on the show.
Oh, really? I wouldn't like him, so I'm not surprised.
Pilot Pete. I'm talking about the fans, not the girls. Ladies liked him.
Oh, the fans. Okay. Okay. What was he like?
I can't remember I saw his season, but I can't remember. But I do know that a lot of the women liked him, and I think he kind of led them on. And so a lot of the fans really didn't like him at all.
Got you. Ed was like, you didn't like Magic Mike. He was pretty good, I thought. I wasn't a fan of Magic Mike, but I respected his gameplay. That's how I feel about him.
I don't. No, I'm just joking.
but I was really going for Kuzi, and I was upset at Kuzi because there was a point in time where it had gotten back to her that Mike had said her name. So she knew before him knowing about her targeting him. So I was thinking at this point would be a perfect time for Kuzi to throw his name out there for real and try to rally the troops and get him out. But instead, she tried to do this political thing, and they were asking her, "Oh, you're not really picking any names. You're not really saying anything." And she's like, "Well, I have to sit and analyze," and she wasn't saying anything.
I think that Kuzi's downfall was not keeping the people that she know, like Kevin Martin, around.
Yeah, that's true
And
too.
yeah, she didn't. I thought she was, because that's how she was speaking, but then it turns out that she basically, when she was around people, she didn't really offer much.
And interestingly enough, this is the same problem, not the same problem, but a similar problem that happened with Dan, which was eliminating the wrong people. Not in his case, not because they're people that he can trust or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but just that everybody notices this pattern
Right.
of who is being eliminated and thinks to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
who would want this, and this, and this person out?
And people fail to realize that part of being a traitor is knowing who to pick to eliminate. You don't
Yes.
just pick any person. It should cause a lot of confusion.
Yes,
And
that's always
so,
the goal.
mm-hmm,
Not your biggest threat.
mm-hmm,
Not like, oh, we got to get out Johnny Bananas because no,
right.
Johnny Bananas. I watched him on the challenge for 20 plus seasons. Even though he won 7 seasons, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. The challenge is a different game.
Yeah, but he's loud. So I'm thinking that because he's loud, he probably thought that he would have brought, I don't know what he thought, but
Well, we found out, or I found out later, that not John, Dan did not do his research on these people.
oh
Like
yeah,
he knew the ones that he knew already,
right.
but he was not like, oh, let me look up these other ones and see what they're like on their shows, because he just thought, I'm this big strategist, so I can just come on here. It doesn't matter who they are, what they've done before. I'll figure it out.
I wonder, do they know who's going to be on, or are they surprised when they get to the castle?
That's a good question, because I don't really know. I know that some shows you just show up and find out. I
Hmm.
know that some shows it gets kind of leaked beforehand, so I'm not sure with the Traitors, but that's worth looking up.
Right.
Let me see these comments. Ed said I'm only talking about the game, not the man. If I played, I'd pretend to be like season 2 Kevin, the
Season.
season 1 Kevin, then season 2. Oh, I haven't seen
Oh, I
UK.
haven't seen UK.
Is UK on right now?
It's probably over with, I'm
Done
sure.
already?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check out some of the other ones in once this is over.
Mhm.
Useless, smart, and a champion. How do you? I know. I will admit. I'd probably underestimate somebody from one of those shows as well.
You know what? I take that back. UK Traders he's talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, UK Traders, I think it started the same day that US Traders, so they should be still on.
At the same time. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if, since it's UK on the UK channel. Oh, it's done. Okay.
In Peter's Bachelor season, it was more the Bachelorette who I think people lost respect for. It was, oh, she's not going to sleep with anyone to the end. Then she made an exception. Oh, for Peter.
Oh, so Peter's a dog.
I can see that. I can see that. But Peter is diabolical. I'll give him that. You know, he's really smart. It's like the game of poker, right? If you're playing poker, there's people that win with any hand. Like when you watch the Series of Poker, they're good at bluffing. But it's like you see those people who, when the cards come out that are supposed to come out and they have whatever hand that they have, oh, I got a royal flush. You can
Mm,
see it all on their face. And
right.
that's Peter to me.
Hmm.
Whenever Peter has a plan that works out, even if he's not saying anything,
very smug,
just sitting there with this smug look on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you think so, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll just have to see what happens, huh? Just like,
he has a tail.
smart or not, you are
Right.
asking to get out.
Exactly.
You don't want to make enemies that way.
No, and to think it's only 3 traitors, but it's like a whole bunch of faithful. So you
Yes.
don't want to alienate any one of them. Peter hit it and quit it. No wonder that's the truth, Ed.
Ed has all the zingers today. Yeah, it's true. Even there's only so many traders. So you just want to be on everybody's good side, even if you know who the traitor is.
Right.
Like, let me lay low until they're actually out.
Right. And the only way that you don't want to lay too low, but
Yeah.
you want to, like, I think that the reason why CT is not out, CT is laying too low. If they didn't have any one to pull from, like have this information on Poverty or Phaedra, I think CT will probably be one that they will pick because he's too laid back. He's too laid back, not laid back, but low key.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. He's benefited by a lot of aggressive calls.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been able to literally sit back this entire game and go with the majority.
Exactly. So
Because on BB Can, I mean not BB Can, they had a couple BB Can players. That's why I had that in my mind. Yeah, Traitors Can. That game was more like, you know what? This person hasn't really said anything. It's them. This one hasn't really made any kind of accusation on anybody. So it's probably them.
Right.
And that's how that went.
Exactly. So you see, someone also said that Phaedra, she never says anyone's name. So they peep that she doesn't say much anyone's name. And you can't not say a name, but you can't be suspicious about it either. Is a third traitors a good number to start? What I mean is 3 traitors a good number? Oh, 3 traitors.
Traitors Canada had 2, didn't they? Right?
No,
They had 3.
They had 3, but then one got found out right away, and so
that's what it was.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But no, most of the Traitors franchises have 3. I think UK season 2 was the only one that had 4 traitors.
So did you prefer that? Because I didn't see that.
I haven't seen season 2 yet. Season 1 they had 3 traitors, but season 2 I haven't. I only watched 1 episode so far. So I like the 3 traitors. I think that I actually really like the way that they did season 2 of US, where he picked 2 traitors and then the 2 traitors picked their own third traitor. I actually like that. That was the first time.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Poverty was not an original traitor.
Right. So that was the first time that's ever been done. So
yeah, it's like this 1 per week thing makes this thing feel like it was so long ago that I forget these early details.
Yeah. So wow. I don't know. Who asked that question? Was that Ed or was that Prince?
Ed. Oh, yeah, Ed, yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Ed? Do you think that they should have 4 or 3?
Yeah, so I guess Poverty ended up actually, if you think about it, was a great choice for Phaedra.
I agree.
Because she took heat. She took all the heat when Dan left. So that kind of bought her all those extra weeks or all those extra days while the whole target was on Poverty. So that paid off for her to get all the way to episode 8.
And she was cool about it. She knew what the assignment was. That's what I like about Poverty. She doesn't let them see her sweat. She knows what the assignment is, and she was like, I'm just have to take them out.
And her gameplay actually helped Phaedra to lay a little lower.
Exactly.
Because she was really taking the reins with this stuff that they had to do as traitors.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the 2 picks and they recruited the 3rd. I actually did like that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I like that too.
Oh, I didn't even know about the rules. 2 to 5.
Oh, it's 2 to 5 traitors. I didn't know that either.
I think I remembered in season 1 they kept saying there could be 4 of us or something. So I didn't know it could be 5.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
But it's good to know.
So we left off at the end of this episode with we didn't have the cliffhanger this time because we know that she picked Kate. Obviously, we're going to see whether Kate accepts or not, but I don't think Kate wants to be out of the game. So
And
Kate
Kate said that when she first came in, she thought that she was going to be a traitor, and she was like, I wanted to be a traitor. I didn't want to come in as a faithful.
So what are your thoughts going into this week? How do you think that Kate is going to be as this new recruit?
I'm hoping that Kate can manage to stay the way she's been, interact with everyone the way that she has been, keep her snarky ways and not hide in the background, because that is a tall tale. That's a telltale sign.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can see it taking off a little of the spice. For sure, because when you're flinging those comments out and you genuinely don't know anything, it's much easier because it's not strategy.
Exactly.
It's just you keeping it real.
It's you keeping it real.
I don't know if she's expected in the game to be less real and now deceive people intentionally, if she can do that seamlessly like Phaedra.
Seems like she thinks on her feet, but we'll see. Since she hasn't been a traitor before, we don't know how she's going to react, but I have faith in her.
And you've seen more seasons than I have, but I've in the 2 seasons that I've seen, I've never seen someone successfully be recruited this late and actually succeed at winning.
I think I have once. She didn't win, but she came close. She was actually pretty good. She was actually pretty good. I believe it might have been Australia, but season 2, but I can't remember.
So Ed said, do you play the game? Do you play active or passive? Are you faithful or traitor? Do you play both the same way?
I think you have. I don't think you should play passive because it's a dead giveaway. I think you have to be active, but not where everybody sees that you're active. It's kind of like when, what is the guy's name? Jag, when he won the secret HOH, and he was supposed to be under the radar, but he wasn't. But I think that you have to be under the radar, but while playing the active game. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa. So, yeah, it's what we keep talking about every single week. Like I was saying that Trishelle did not do the wrong thing by mentioning Phaedra's name. It's just that you have to pick the right time and the right way to actually make the move. And I think she did it just a little bit too early.
Premature, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit premature. So like you said, you have to be active in those discussions. When people are like, I think it's this person, throw your 2 cents in there. Not just in the sense of like, yeah, I agree. Throw in some reasons. Just don't make them so strong to where it looks like you're trying to throw people off. Like, oh, I could see that. yeah, I do remember this conversation that I had with such and such, and they said this, and it seems that like it could align with what you're saying.
Right.
I could see that, like, be an active participant in the conversations,
Right.
because if
And
you could
don't
sit there,
isolate people. When you isolate people and they see a group, they feel a certain kind of way. So
don't,
even if
yes,
you're saying something that's true at the round table, people are not going to be open to listening to what you got to say because they're like, you have been you've isolated us out, whatever the things that you guys were talking about. So
exactly. You got to be inclusive. You got to
mhm,
make sure everybody is good with you, even the people you suspect. When you are accusing somebody,
mhm,
you can't do it in a corner
you can't.
because they'll use that against you.
I agree.
Any little thing, they'll use it against you.
I agree. And to answer Ed's question, should you play both the same? I think you probably have to navigate both sides of. You want people to think that um, you're faithful. So it's but people's conscience get the best of them and show um a tale, if you
Hmm.
will. And so I think that that's why I think that Sari was really good at it because she really created a connection with everybody in the house and they trusted her. So, yeah.
There's a thing in psychology, called decompartmentalizing. And there's some people who come on these games who are extremely good at this,
Hmm.
where they're like, it doesn't matter what I do in this game. It doesn't change who I am outside of this game. And from what I've seen, that seems to be Sari,
Hmm.
where she's like, I can lie, cheat, and steal and do whatever I have to do to win the game, but I know that I'm a good person on the outside.
Hmm.
Whereas we saw somebody like Cody, who lying ate him alive,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it was so all over his face at that round table, especially after what's his name, Ryan Lochte, the swimmer that he became friends with.
Right.
After he got out, and it was Cerise's decision and the other guy, Ari, and he didn't want that, and they kind of outnumbered him and voted the guy out.
Hmm.
Like, some people are, it doesn't matter if you've been on reality TV before. This is a different type of game.
I agree.
It's like it's a small number of people and it's really intense.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think that's what makes Phaedra so good because even though she likes the people that she's murdering, she's like, oh well,
Yes, yes.
oh well. Could you pass me the boiled eggs?
You know what I find so interesting about Phaedra is that she warned Dan about how he's looking in the house. She warned Parvati of how she's looking in the house. And
Hmm.
it seemed genuine to me.
Right, it
Like,
was.
you're playing yourself.
This is what I've seen of Phaedra. Phaedra is loyal as long as you're loyal to her.
Mhm.
And she wasn't trying to go after either one of them. I think that if they hadn't tried to go after one of them right so fast, so soon, I think that they all could have kind of gotten further than what did she say? What did he say? Lisa not going to like this, but hot take. If Trishelle was on season one, Sari would have won. I agree. He said would have won or wouldn't have
I
won.
think he meant to say wouldn't have.
That's incorrect.
Yeah, I don't think so. Um, yeah, so I remember Sari talking about the Traitors after the show,
Hmm.
and she was basically like, I just stayed true to myself. She said, I told real stories about myself, my life, my family. I made real connections with people. but I just always understood that I'm here to take home this money.
Right.
That's my number one priority. If I make friends, great. If everyone hates me afterwards, oh well, and that's unfortunate, but my objective is to get the money.
Right. And she did feel guilty with the two that were left at the end, the two faithful. She felt guilty about it, but it's a game.
It's a
I
game.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, so it puts you in a pressure cooker in a sense, because especially if you're somebody who's generally honest in real life, you get into the game and you are out here in Scotland. You don't know anybody. All you have is the people in that house with you. You don't have your family there. You don't have your friends there.
Right.
So you do have to make bonds and connections. So it becomes complicated when it becomes emotionally complicated when you make a bond with somebody, but you know you're a traitor the whole time.
Right.
And you're like, I really wish I could tell them, but I'm trying to win the money.
Money. Right.
And then it mucks it up even more if you were friends already before you came in the game. And the person's depending on you to value your friendship over winning the game, like what Trishelle was trying to do with CT.
But that's what I liked about Rachel. She didn't Rachel knew that it was a game. When she found out at the end that Cirie was a traitor, she wasn't upset about it. She was like, I would have done the same thing. Oh, thank you, Colleen.
All right. Well, this has been a great recap. I love the takes that you have as always, Tasha. And we had a very active chat. Do you have any last words? What do you have to say for how the season has gone so far and what you think is going to happen in the end?
I think that this probably is a good pick in Kate. And hopefully Kate can spread some chaos to get the heat off of Phaedra. And that Prince is incorrect, that Trishelle won't take out Phaedra next episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that the Kate pick was probably the best pick for her not right now in the position that she's in. I think that they could potentially work together. It's only another couple of days
right
in the house. So they could and I think that in the end, if let's say Kate and her were in the end, I don't think she would do that big risk like what Cirie did.
I don't think so either.
And try to get, because people don't, when I said this in the Discord, they didn't agree with me, but it was a gamble. It was a gamble for Cirie to make sure that she was the last person standing.
And she said that too. She knew it was a gamble. She knew it was a risk, but she was willing to take it. And I understood why she did. So I don't feel sorry.
It was a good risk. She set it up. She set it up in such a way that made it a good risk.
Right.
And it was obviously a high reward.
Do you know that he's still salty about it though?
Is he?
Oh my goodness, yes. He said something about it recently. I'm like, wasn't that about a year ago?
You know what I just realized? I kept saying Ari, and I was meaning to say Christian. I referenced Ari several times in this recap, and I was actually talking about Christian.
Christian, okay.
Now I remember Ari was the recruit.
Right.
At the end, yep. And I hated how he just walked away.
Was it Ari or Aris? No, Aris was the one that she played with in Survivor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. And
thanks for having me, Mark. It was so much fun.
You're welcome. And hopefully we'll see you again Friday before we have our game night. Yes. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Take care.
Bye.